Hello, and it's Stephanie here again for HMO Heroes live at lunchtime. Yes, this is our first session live at lunchtime because last night's, wrong screen, last night's live at 5 went slightly skew because of technical issues. So we're hoping that Be Live supports us this time, that you can see us, you can hear us, and it's all going to be very rock and roll. So you know what's happening today. It's Nick Leatherland in the house as our HMO hero. Fantastic show, and I'm going to run you through exactly what he's going to be sharing with you in just a moment. Now, HMO Heroes, for those of you who don't know, it's inspiration, motivation, and information for anyone who's interested in HMOs, whether buying, renting, or flipping, whatever you want to do with them. HMO Heroes is the place to be on Facebook, HMO Heroes Facebook group. So, back to today's broadcast. We have for you Nick Leatherland. Now, Nick, along with his business partner, John Colclough, has achieved so much in the past 2 years that is literally jaw-dropping. Within just 2 years, they've completed over 50 refurbishments with a GDV of over £9 million. In 2 years, guys, it's crazy. Also, they've raised over £1 million in private finance. And they're serial entrepreneurs with a number of successful property businesses. But what's really special about them is they've totally systemized the refurb and development process so that they can cover this volume of work. And at one time, they could have over 10 refurbishments going on at a time. So we're going into the secrets of how do they do that? Anyone who's managed one refurbishment will know what I'm talking about there. So, and that's the things that I've already told you about. They've got killer branding and an online presence, which really dominates in their niche. And the things which I haven't mentioned yet in my in the promo was that Nick was also in the Royal Navy, and he's an award-winning letting agent with his company manages over 200 rooms. And lots more that are just about to come on board. And he also runs the Unity Community, which is an educational network for active investors doing amazing things in property. And on top of that, he's got his uber valuable refurb books and downloads and his YouTube channel where he shares all the information about how you can do it too. So remember, guys, it's a two-way thing. So if you do have any questions or comments, just ask them below and Nick will answer them for you. And if you're watching on the replay, then still answer your questions, tag Nick in and he will answer them for you. So without any further ado, let me welcome to the show HMO hero Nick Leatherland. Hey, Nick.
Hello, thanks for having me on.
Pleasure. Thanks for being here. Let's see, all seems to be going well so far, so let's hope the technology holds out for us today. So, Nick, let's just start off at the beginning. How did you get started with this?
Okay, so
about you first and how you got started.
How I got started. So I'm 30 years old now, and I bought my first property when I was 20. So my kind of story is that I was born and raised in Swindon in Wiltshire, which is near Bristol, for anyone that doesn't know it. And yeah, I left Swindon when I was 16. My main passion was music, so I played the drums, and there was a band in Stoke-on-Trent that needed a drummer. So I moved to Stoke to pursue my music career. After about 4 years, it didn't really work out for me. I was a bit delusional and all this kind of thing. So I decided to join the Royal Navy. So I served on nuclear submarines for 9 years. And whilst I was in for those 9 years, I was buying property. It seemed to just make sense, you know. I was going on deployments for 6 months at a time, saving all that money, and I had nothing to spend it on. And I just happened to be in Stoke-on-Trent where the properties were quite cheap and the yields were quite high. The rental returns were quite high in comparison to the purchase price of the properties. So I started doing that. And after a few years of doing that, I kind of realized that actually it's more profitable to do property than it is to work. So I started planning my escape. I met John Colclough, my now business partner. We started Pegasus Property together about 2.5 to 3 years ago now. Time escapes me because we're having so much fun. You know, it's time's flying by. But no, it's great. You know, we're doing Pegasus Property now. We're doing stuff for clients, and yeah, we love it.
Fantastic. Thanks a million for that. And let me just say a quick hi. I can see we've got a few people on, but I can only see names for a few. So give me a thumbs up, give Nick a thumbs up, and then we'll be able to give you a shout out. But I know we've got Aranjeet on and we've got Stella on. Those are the names I can see. So if you're on, give us a thumbs up and I'll give you a little shout out. So Nick and everybody watching, we're doing something a bit different. So normally we go more into delving into your story and so on, but we've had some great questions. So I think we're going to fire away with some of those, and then we're going to tell a little bit more about Nick and what he's been doing. So lots of amazing stuff if you're HMO wise. So the questions that we've had are from Martin Scott, and he says, now I know you've got a rock star on, so I've got a few questions. And the first one is, he's interested in how you get millions done. How do you get all these refurbs done? But it means that you've got a solid system in place for identifying the properties. So can you tell us about that, Nick?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, of course, systems are really important. And so, I mean, to try and give this some context, you've got to kind of understand, you know, I was doing property development whilst I was in the Royal Navy, right? So I was going on deployments for months at a time underwater on a submarine. So I had no internet. I couldn't contact anybody when I was down there. And when I was in the Royal Navy, a lot of it was about systems and having processes in place. So to understand that fully, I was trained in sonar warfare. And there were so many pieces of sonar equipment on our submarine. To use them all frequently wasn't going to happen. You know, you could be taught how to use a piece of equipment and then not use it for 3 years, but then you'd be expected to know how to use that piece of equipment inside and out without having used it or touched it for 3 years. So we had these manual books called Scandex, and that you would be given a Scandex, and the Scandex would be literally, you know, to put the key in, turn it to the right, now say out loud, you know, echo sounder active or whatever. And you went through the step-by-step process, and it was super easy. Anyone could do it. And so being in that sort of environment and then starting my own business whilst I was going away on deployments meant I thought, hey, I could do the same thing. So I created these manuals and I gave them to people. So, for example, I had a friend who was managing my properties whilst I was away, and she was following my manuals on how to do everything. So that kind of worked on a small scale. With regards to refurbs, it was the same. I would say to the builders, this is what needs doing, this is the budget, here's the spec, here's the floor plans, this is what I want doing. So I just kind of thought about it really. And if you're forced to do it like I was, you got to do it and you got to make it happen. So without really realizing I was doing all these good positive things that were going to help me scale up in the future. And at the time I didn't know that. So that gives it a bit of context as to why I was doing it in the first place. It wasn't just because like, you know, systemizing is the thing to do. It's because I had to do it. You know, and kind of fast forward a few years to now, yeah, it's all about the team, basically. If you've got a good builder and you've got good agents and you've got good people around you and you let them know what you want and they know what your expectations are and you lay out basically processes and steps and manuals for what you want doing, that's how you scale up. You can't do it all yourself, basically. You've got to rely on other people.
Exactly.
Yep.
Just want to say hi to Mark, Raj, and Dan who are watching. Hey guys, if you've got any questions, you know, just ask them below. So coming back to this question then, Nick, how do you find all these deals?
So basically deal sourcing. Of course, agents is one of the best ones. And the thing is, right, there's a lot of webinars out there about sourcing and people say a lot of the same things over and over. And it's because that is the way it's done, really. There isn't really any magic secret to it. You know, it's a people's business. You know, property is very much a people's business, whether it's working with clients, tenants, builders, agents to get deals. It's all people. So if you're the type of person who's maybe a bit socially awkward or you're not great with people, you're more of a back office type person. You know, I think you need to figure out another way. And that's what I am. I'm not much of a people person, I'll be honest with you. I'm a bit socially awkward. I like being back office a bit more in my comfort zone. So my way of sourcing is probably different to other people's. And that's maybe why we've had some good success, because I've relied on digital marketing. I've relied on getting on the phones to people, emails. You know, I can cover a lot more ground by emailing and calling people than I can going around knocking on doors, which is fine. But I think if you walk into an estate agency and you go, hey, I've got money, I want deals, most agents think, whatever, mate. And a lot of it is to do with basically the credibility. So the lot longer you've been around for and the more deals you buy, they start calling you. So we're now in a position where agents call us, we don't call them, they call us with the deals. And that's just through basically them throwing us a bone and us biting and showing that we will go through a deal, and then calling the shots as we go on, because they know we're reliable. So you've got to prove yourself to agents by basically being very specific with what you want. The worst thing you can do is just go in and say, I'll have whatever. You know, that's not what you want to do. You want to go in there and say, I want specific postcodes and specific property types. If they send you something that's not within that criteria, you say, no, that's not what I wanted. I wanted this postcode and that property type. And if they send you the deal that you've been asking for, you've got to buy it. If you don't, you lose credibility straight away with that agency. So just bear that in mind. Credibility is super important. But my main thing with sourcing probably that can help people is I call it like my hack system. So simply put, I've done a few webinars on this, but simply put, what I do is I've got 20 deals in front of me, okay, and I analyze every single deal with a deal stacker. So I've got a deal analyzer stacker spreadsheet that I use, and I stack every single deal very quickly, and that's called desktop analyzing, yeah? So you can desktop analyze a deal in about 60 seconds, and that comes with experience. But, you know, I've got the purchase price and the renovation cost I can work out, because if I can download the EPC online, by using the postcode, I can get the total square meter of that building using averages, conversion rates. So I can work out an approximate renovation cost for that project. So I've got an approximate renovation cost, a purchase price. I can work out rental incomes based on local comparisons through Rightmove. I can work out the GDV based on local comparisons through Rightmove. And now I've stacked a deal in a minute or two. And out of those 20 deals, maybe 5 of them work on paper. Those are the 5 are going for you. And chances are I'll secure every one of them on the first viewing, because I've already done my numbers before I've even got there. I already know I'm going to buy it. I'm just going there to look around and go, yep, it's got a roof and it's got 4 walls. I'm buying it. You know, so what a lot of people are doing wrong is they're viewing 20 deals and then they're working out that 5 maybe work. Then they're calling a builder to come in, and that's just pissing the builder around. And they might say, I can come in 3 days. I've already secured it, you know? So I don't need, basically, I'm not relying on people in that first step. That first step stage, you've got to try and take all the moving components out of it. So you've got to be quicker. You've got to be quicker than the competition. How do you do that? Don't rely on builders to quote it up for you. And they could misquote it anyway to get the work. So it's bullshit numbers anyway. Build contingencies then. If the numbers don't work on paper, walk away. Simple. Yeah. So I do that by stacking the deals. I've got a spreadsheet. On my spreadsheet, I put all the property addresses in. Then I've got colours. So I've got like stacked, viewing booked in, viewing conducted, and then offer accepted, like that with the agent's name and all that stuff, all the details, ROIs, GDVs, what it's going to be, 5-bed HMO, 6-bed HMO, whatever, and that's it. And that's how I'm organised, you know. And I've got Dropbox folders. Yeah, I got Dropbox folders as well with like offer accepted, complete, and it goes down like that. So that's how I do it.
I love it. And actually your spreadsheet is amazing, because when we're doing rent to rent, obviously, which is what we mainly do, we use our own spreadsheet. But when we're buying, we use your spreadsheet, which is amazing. So, and I know that you've got that online, people can download that. So we'll put a link up to that if you want Nick's spreadsheet. Absolutely recommend it. You've heard what you can do, totally systemize, and make sure that you move quickly to seal the deals that you want to seal. Okay, so that's great. So that's his first question. So I hope you like that, Martin. And the second thing is, he said, what are the numbers on a typical HMO deal? What is the average cost of the houses that you buy? I suppose there might not be an average now, but you know what I'm talking about for the sort of deals that you were doing at the beginning. What is the average cost of the refurb, and then the average amount of money left in? So we all have a realistic baseline, rather than all these courses promising no money left in, 30% BMV and all of that. I'm just going to say baloney, but Martin actually used a different words, but just in case my dad's watching. But you see where I'm coming from, Nick. Can you give us the answers for that one?
Yeah, sure. I mean, getting all your money out is pretty hard to do these days, and those deals are around, but you're having to buy kind of commercial to residential sort of projects, I would say. And if so, basically what gets taught on a lot of courses is like you can buy a residential C3 home, you can convert it into a HMO, and then it would be worth a lot more money. because it'd be valued commercially, which is based on the yield, so it's based on the rental income of that property. And say you buy a house in Stoke for like 100 to 120k, and you can convert that to a 6-bed all-ensuite HMO for 60 to 80k. But typically it's 200 all in. So if you pick the property up for 100k, it's probably going to need 80 spent on it, because it's going to need new windows and roof and probably some structural issues. If you pick it up for 120, it's probably only need 60 spending on it. So what I'm saying, so you're spending about 200 all in, with your furniture as well in there, obviously, and stamp and all that. And a property like that, bricks and mortar, would probably be 200k. So it's basically what you spent on it. So if you was to revalue at 75% LTV onto like a Kent Reliance style mortgage or whatever, you probably leave about 50k your money tied up. So that's probably what you're looking at. But your cash flow after all your overheads, void allowance, maintenance allowance, all that stuff, cleaning, lettings, everything, you're probably talking about £1,300 a month net income, which is an ROI of over 25%. So it's pretty good. That's pretty nice. Yeah. But if that same property was valued commercially, it's probably worth about 230k. So if you also do 75% LTV of 230k, you're also going to get a lot more of your money back. But now you're going to be way closer to the bricks and mortar value, which means that you haven't really got any equity left in the deal, and that could make you come undone later down the line if you needed to offload for some reason. So that's something just to bear in mind, and that's quite a popular strategy because people use that to momentum invest and recycle their cash to build up a big portfolio. But what I'd say to people out there is, you can do that, but can you get the lending? A lot of people go into strategy without looking at the exit. They just assume they would get the lending, and some people can't because of various reasons. Commercial lenders have lots of reasons why they won't lend to you. One of them could be that it's your first HMO property and that they want you to be an experienced HMO landlord, which means you have to have a HMO for 12 months minimum before they would lend to you. So what that can mean is that your strategy comes undone because you can't get all the money back out that you thought you would. So that's just something to bear in mind. Look at the exit, talk to brokers, commercial brokers, find out what lending you will be able to get. Bearing in mind that things are always changing. So if they said yes now, in 6 months' time, if you actually did one, it might be a different story. Okay, so that's that little bit of spill. Diversify your portfolio as well. I would mix. If I had an income goal of say £10,000 a month net, I'd want 5k of that to be made up of probably like low risk property investments like buy-to-lets, and then the other 50% of the 10k, I'd want to probably split that into 2 or 3. So into like 25% mini HMOs, 25% larger HMOs, or whatever, or a mixture of SA and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I would recommend to people. But no, in answer to your question, so buy to lets, we're looking at around 60k. You could get a 2-bed or a 3-bed property in Stoke for like 60 to 80k. Convert that into a 3-bed or 4-bed mini HMO for about 20 to 25k. You'd probably leave about 15 to 20k in a deal like that. And your cash flow would be about 650 to 700 pound a month net. And so that's like your mini mos. And obviously I've already explained the all-ensuite HMO model. And that's the 2 main ones really. And then you're looking at larger HMOs, 8-bed, 9-bed, commercial to residential conversions. We're doing a nightclub at the minute into an 18-bed HMO with 4 apartments. And that's going to be split into 2 buildings. So it's going to be like a 9-bed and a whatever sort of thing, 9-bed and 9-bed style thing.
Okay, so let's come on to that because that deal sounds amazing. But just going back to the answer to this question about leaving the money in the deal and so on, I think what we're saying there with the 6-bed all en suite, you're leaving about 50k in and you're cash flowing 1,300 a month average. And then on the mini mos, you're leaving about 15k in and you're cash flowing about 650 a month. So I hope that's answered your question, Martin.
All depends, doesn't it, on your circumstances, like what LTVs you want and what interest rates you want, and you could pull a lot of money out of the deal, but then you kill the cash flow. So it's like you got to balance it. Yeah,
exactly. And I think Clive Pierce, if you're watching this, you'll like that answer as well. Okay. Now he's asked another question, which we'll come on to that in a moment, because first I want to go into this deal that you're telling us about, where you do quite a lot of commercial to resi. So let's just do an overview of your position on commercial to residential, and then let's look at in detail at 1 or 2 of the deals.
Okay, so you just want me to tell you about the nightclub deal?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. So I was driving through town one day, and I saw somebody putting a for sale sign up, a commercial agent. They're putting their for sale sign up. This was like a Friday afternoon. And I was like, oh, that's for sale? No way, because I know it's massive and it's a good location. So me and John literally stacked it there and then in about a minute on our phones. We were like, right, we were measuring the outside so we could work out the total floor space. And from there, we were able to calculate how many rooms we would get in there, what the approximate conversion cost would be. So we just did some quick headline figures, and it stacked, So we called the agent there and then, and he said, oh, it's not even online yet. They're literally just putting the sign up. And we said, yeah, we know, because we're outside. And he went, right, can you come tomorrow morning, Saturday morning? Yes, we can. So we're there Saturday morning. We've had a look round, and we were like, yeah, we'll have this. So the thing is that the guy wanted 250K for it. And we knew that if we went in and offered, say, 200K cash, he'd accept it. But we thought if we offered 250 subject to planning permission, he's probably going to take that, because that's 50K extra for just waiting. And so that's what we offered, and he accepted. So at this point, we didn't own it. We just had it on, an option subject to planning permission. So that really de-risks it for us. We've still got to pay 10 to 15K out in planning permission costs and surveys and all these sorts of things. And then they could say no at the end, and we lose that money. So that's kind of the danger money that you put on the line when you do a commercial deal like that. But that's still better than buying it outright than not being able to convert it. Can you imagine that? That would be a nightmare. So yeah, we got planning. Bit of back and forth. Took about a year to get planning in the end. The vendor wasn't too happy, but we got it in the end. It was revalued under Rick's valuation at 380K. So if we just bought that right now for 250, we could sell it for 380 in theory. Probably wouldn't realistically sell it for 380. It'd be about 360. But you could make some quick money and walk away. So we're buying it now. The conversion's about 550K, which has been quantity surveyed. We've got all the contractors lined up, and it would be 18 bedrooms split into 2 and 4 apartments. The GDP will be about £1.2 million. And the cash, the rental income will be about £90,000 a year. And the cool thing is that when we went for lending, the bridging lenders would lend us based on the current value, not what we're buying it for. So lend you, say 75% of 380K, which is 266,000. So you can pay the 250 to the vendor, 16K left over to cover your planning costs. So it's like a no money down deal, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Absolutely love that. There's so much that you can do with the commercial, and it's a bit of a rarefied market. Fewer buyers are in that marketplace, so you're able to get more deals. But I love that way that you've done the financing of it as well. Thanks. So much in there. That's a brilliant one. And what's your position overall on commercial to resi? Is that a strategy that you're sort of focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a couple commercial deals that we're doing. So we're converting a pub into 9 flats at the minute. That's nearly finished. So we started that a year ago. And yeah, we've done a few commercial deals now. Into flats and stuff in HMOs. I think that's really the way ahead. That lots of people are doing HMOs these days, and obviously commercial to residential is a little bit more technical, I'd say, a bit harder to do. So there's less people doing it, obviously, so it means there's more deals available. But if you're a newbie and you want to do commercial to resi, you can get other people to do it for you, which is what we do. So it's open for anyone really. But we tend to do the deals for ourselves, or JV on those deals. Smaller deals like buy-to-lets and HMOs we do for our clients, where we source and renovate it for them, so we have no ownership on the property. They own it outright. Yeah,
but you wouldn't want to do that on these sort of specialist ones. So how are you JVing on these sort of commercial to resi when you are JVing? What are you doing there?
Yeah, so every deal's different, but we combine private finance and institutional finance, or whatever you want to call it. So like bridging lenders, for example, would make up some of the lending, and then a private lender would make up the rest of the lending, and it would be 50-50 split in an SPV company. So we'd set up a SPV limited company with a JV partner, and the SPV would be owned half by Pegasus and then half by their limited company. So it's not owned by people, it's owned by the companies, the SPV.
Right, nice.
Mhm.
Now we had somebody, and I know there are a lot of people who will be in this position who are looking at a commercial in their area, and
Mhm.
they're wanting to go ahead, but they want someone to work with, like you were saying. So what can you offer to them? What
What me,
service?
me, me personally?
Did you say you can offer a service or not?
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean, me personally? What I do, or if I wanted to offer a service?
Well, what I mean to say is, does your company or you personally offer any services that help people who want to do commercial to resi that are out of your area?
Um, no, not really. We do commercial residential conversions in our own area, Stoke-on-Trent, and if you want to JV with us, you can. We're open to that, but we don't really source them for other people or whatever. We commercial deals we tend to do ourselves or with clients as JV partners.
Yeah. But people can join your Unity community,
Hmm. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
they wanted sort of guidance through getting through, they've got a deal, they just want to think about how to structure it out and all that. Would that be a good time to come along to your Unity community?
Yeah, I run a property group called Unity, and that's for property developers from anywhere really in the UK and abroad as well. We've got members from places like Hong Kong and Dubai, so that's pretty cool.
Really?
But yeah, yeah, essentially, so it's kind of international, but it's just a group of property developers and investors, and we'll hang out together on a WhatsApp group, a Facebook group. We meet up once a month in the Midlands. We have speakers come in, we do masterminding, loads of networking, and there's over 50 people in that group, and we're all doing different strategies, all different levels of experience are welcome, whether you've got no properties or loads. But yeah, that's unitycommunity.co.uk.
It's fantastic value as well, Nick, because a lot of these groups that are doing the same thing, or in some cases not as much, are
Mhm.
charging like thousands every month. So I think you can get so much value out of that sort of community. And you were just telling me a couple of days ago about what one of the guys in your group is actually doing. I don't know if you want to just give people an idea of some of the things that people are doing in your group.
Yeah, I mean, we've got members in the group who are just amazing. I mean, there's a guy called Alistair who's 22 years old, and he did an 8-bed HMO in Stoke-on-Trent, which was quite near where I live, actually. So I was popping in, having a little look, giving a bit of advice here and there. But he mainly did it on his own with no help. And he kind of refinanced it, got loads of money back out, and he's just gone and bought a big block of 22 flats or something crazy. Do you know what I mean? So that's just amazing. Like, you know, so it's inspirational people in there doing deals like that, and they tell you how they do it and everything. So you can't really get any better than that, I think, because a lot of groups are just BS, and the people who are doing all the training aren't actually developers. And, you know, it's all mindset stuff, and it's not practical information that you can actually use.
Yeah, I mean, it's priceless because people going in say they have. I know there was a chap in the HMO Heroes group who has just found a potential commercial deal in his location and wants that step by step of what to do next, what he should be looking out for, and all of that. And he would get all of that support, you know, within that community. But now moving on, we've got another question, and then we'll come back to some of more of your deals, Nick. Which is all about ensuites. And I've heard this quite a bit. And it's that he's seen your properties online, that there are 6, you know, for example, the 6-bed all ensuite that we talked about. And what he's noticed is that a lot of the bedrooms are quite small because of the ensuites, whereas he's actually based not far from me, where here it's bigger rooms and the shared bathrooms. And so the questions are, the cost of putting the ensuites in against the rental uplift and extra maintenance, and whether it makes much difference on the rentability. Do good quality rooms get rented with the ensuite than without it, is the question. Do the ensuites make it more likely that you'll get a commercial mortgage if you look for one on the basis that it's not a normal residence? And about the council tax issue, are you
Okay,
affected?
that's okay. So that's about 6 questions. So
First one,
start off with the first one, yeah.
rental uplift versus extra maintenance, etc.
Okay, so those are really good questions, actually. So, okay, let's say we've both got a property. One's a large 3-bed end terraced Victorian property, okay, and then I've got the other one on the opposite side of you. We both pick it up for £100,000. They both need quite a lot of work doing, roofs, windows, all that sort of stuff. Now, if you was just doing you want to do 6 bedrooms, so I'm going to do 6 bedrooms as well. The difference is that I'm going to put en suites in mine, and you're going to put 2 bathrooms in yours. So you've got 3 people per 1 bathroom. Your refurb's probably going to be around 40, 45k max. Mine's probably going to be double that. Okay. And the reason mine is double is because when you go over a certain number of bathrooms, if you're doing electric showers, you have to upgrade from 1 phase to 3 phase, or you have to put in a heating system that can cope with all of that extra hot water. So you're going to need a cylinder system effectively. Now those cost quite a lot of money. I mean, the last one we did was about 10k all in for a 6-bed all ensuite HMO. And when you add in all of your extra studs, tiling, all your extra bathroom suites, all your extra drainage and wastage, it almost doubles your renovation cost. Yeah. So is it worth it? I mean, rental income on a room in Stoke with a shared bathroom is probably about 350, whilst with an ensuite it should be 425 to 450. So 75 to 100 pounds a month difference. And if you've got 6 rooms, 75 pounds times 6 a month is 450 pound extra per month, times 12, is 5,400 pound a year extra, and that's on 75 pound increase. Obviously with 100 pound increase it's more. So from a financial perspective, if you was to break it down into numbers, it should be an approximate return of 33% per bathroom ROI. So that's pretty good in my opinion. So yeah, I would personally put en suites in. With regards to what was the next question? Was it to do with marketability or like filling it kind of thing?
Yeah,
okay, so yeah, for sure. I mean, now what you got to understand is obviously there's different tenant types, and all different tenant types got different requirements, and you can't really pigeonhole people because everyone's different, right? But if you use things like market positioning with your products, which lots of companies do, like Audi, the car manufacturer, make the A1 entry car, value car, and they make an R8 sports car as well. And they're both made by the same company, and that's why people buy the A1. And now you might be thinking, well, Ferrari don't do that. Ferrari wouldn't make an A1 entry-level car. And that's because they do luxury brand, and they're protecting their brand. Audi have gone for a more middle line process, middle line, more common. And obviously they're killing it and making lots of money. So if you were to do that in a HMO perspective, you could have those 2 houses opposite each other, mine and yours, okay, and we could both do the same furniture and the same dressings and the same builders, the same quality, the same management company, and one is going to be value, rents 350 with shared bathrooms, and one's going to be more exclusive, 450 to have an ensuite. Now, naturally, if you did that in a market, what's going to happen is all the competition are going to get pushed into the middle of the market. And if you was to put that into context, Waitrose and Marks and Spencer's create this exclusive product up here, and Lidl, Audi, and Iceland are down here doing this, this value product, and it's pushed Asda, Sainsbury's, and Tesco's into the middle of the market. What that means is they're all selling the same stuff. It's the same price. It's boring. It's got no edge on it. There's no USP. And and just to solidify that point, is it Tesco's have just gone and bought out, or they're starting a new shop, which is going to be like a Lidl ripoff, So it speaks for itself, And if you did that in property, you've got a value product and a high-end product in the same market. You're going to push everyone else into the middle. Magnolia walls, they're all going to be the same price. Do you know what I mean? And you're going to hit the value end of the market, i.e., people that have got lower income or they want to save more money, and you're going to hit the exclusive end as well. And they're both the same product. It's just that one's got a bathroom in one end.
Yeah.
A bit like the cars, I guess. An Audi A1 and the R8. The only difference is that obviously all the features are different. It's got a better engine, etc. But it's the same company that make it.
Yeah. Cool. So where you are, you've worked out the return. That's why you do it, basically. But you're also offering another product which has the shared bathrooms. That right?
Essentially, yeah. And as a result, all our rooms are filled. So we're 99% occupancy.
Yeah.
And yeah, people are struggling to fill rooms. It's because they're not offering anything cool or special, basically. So add a good product, and you will fill your rooms. Now the question was like en suites or shared bathrooms. My feedback is that en suites are more in demand than shared bathrooms.
Yeah, that's my experience as well. None of our properties have got en suites at the moment, but we get asked about en suites a lot. The only way we can maintain that high occupancy is just by being on it like a car body and providing excellent service, because We're not at the, in the creme de la creme because of the Ensuite. But if you've got a product that everybody wants, obviously it's going to sell well.
With regards, sorry, just quickly before we move on to the next bit, there was also the question about maintenance for Ensuite. So I just wanted to touch on that. Now, that is a drawback, of course. So you do have to bear in mind a couple of the pros are you get more money and you fill your rooms easier. The cons are, yeah, you have got to do maintenance, but you can reduce your maintenance by being kind of thoughtful of the process of putting the bathroom in, ensuring that you can access the pipes underneath the bathrooms easily with access hatches, making sure it's been done properly in the first place by a good plumber. These are all basic things that will help you reduce. Also, you can tile all the walls, or you could put aqua boards up, which are probably less likely to leak. So yeah, there is maintenance, and yeah, you have got to put ventilation in, and yeah, it does cost more money, but is it worth it? In my opinion, yes. Some people out there would say no. That's their opinion. I've been doing this for 10 years now, and I've found that Ensuites are the best, in my opinion, but you do have to take the extra costs into account. And of course, refurbing them every so often as well. You've got to take all those costs into account. So yeah.
Great. Well, just while we're quickly breaking in between, just want to say a quick hi because we've got Pete Baker on the line. Hello, Pete. Nicholas, Shane, Dean, and Rand. Good to see you. If you've got any questions, ask them in the comments. Now, Nick, that really leads us well into how you have systemized your refurb to be able to have 10 odd refurbs going on at the same time. Just a couple of the things that you touched on there, such as you're thinking about maintaining your bathrooms when you're putting the bathrooms in. And I know that the thing that people struggle with a lot of the time is getting that refurb process, controlling the builders. There are lots of different aspects to it. So I think let's start off with how not to get ripped off by your builders. So can you walk us through a process that what should people think about?
Sure, will do. Just quickly before we go on to the next thing, there were some more questions from previous that I didn't answer, but because we need to move on, if those go into the comments, I will reply to them individually on the comments on Facebook with the answers. Okay. About council tax, and there's a few other bits and bobs in there as well, getting commercial valuations, etc. So I'll get onto that in the comments. But just moving on, because obviously we're on a time limit.
Okay. Just a quick word on the commercial valuations. Does the Ensuites help with that? Because I know that's an interesting one that people will want to know.
It's quite a big answer, actually. Yeah. But I can probably do it in a minute, just quickly. Basically, there's a grey area. So if you was doing a 4-bed HMO, it probably wouldn't get a commercial valuation. If you was doing a 8-bed HMO, it's going to have planning permission. It's going to be HMO license. It's, it's definitely a HMO. Okay, and they're going to value it as a HMO commercially. But there's the grey area in the middle. There's the 6-bed bit, and the reason it's a grey area is because you can do a 6-bed HMO under permitted development in non-Article 4 areas, meaning that you can have a 6-bedroom all-en-suite property that isn't, well, it is licensed now as of October because everything over 5 people or more is licensed. But before then, you could have a 6-bed all-en-suite HMO, no license, no planning, and you expect it to get valued commercially. And some of the guys would come around and say, nah, because you can rip all these bathrooms out and it's a family home again. So it's not a proper HMO. So that's where a lot of the grey area was. And also, some people weren't getting the commercial lending because of their personal thing, like they've not been a HMO landlord for a year. They've not got a good credit rating. All those sorts of things were affecting it. So it's getting confusing. People saying, oh, I couldn't get a commercial valuation on my 6-bed, all-en-suite HMO. Then the next person could, because of they've got the lending history and all the rest of it. So it's quite a confusing subject. But if anyone out there wants to definitely get a commercial valuation, just go sui generis or whatever you call it. Just do the planning permission thing for 6-bed HMO and be done with it. It's changed planning category now. It is a HMO. You're going to get a commercial valuation on it, basically. That's a surefire way. So yeah.
Getting unity, because if you need to think about these things before you buy the property, before you as you're in that beginning process thinking about it. If you know what you're doing, you're more likely to get to your destination. Yeah. So Shane Duff has made a comment saying that Unity is cracking. So thanks for that, Shane. I'll actually be speaking at Unity next month, isn't it?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, that's gonna be really good.
Right. Okay. So we have got next area. We're going on to refurbs. How you're systemizing these refurbs. But first of all, just at a basic level, starting off, somebody's got a refurb that they're starting on a house. How do they not get ripped off by their builders? What should they be doing?
It's it's hard, you know, because you could be really experienced and know what you're doing and still get screwed over by builders. What you got to understand is that a lot of people out there who are trying to deliberately rip you off are probably quite good at blagging people and being seeming trustworthy. So they're going to pull out all the tricks out the bag to try and get you to trust them. You know, charisma, being really friendly, patting you on the shoulder, being your best mate, giving you loads of good information about things, so they seem like they're the teacher and you're the student, and getting you grooming you effectively to you know what I mean, and then they get the money for you for a job and then they don't turn up, sort of thing, and that happens a lot. So basically, take the emotion out of it, take all of that out of it, and just look at the facts. Okay, you can do things like Google their name. You know, are they in the local newspaper? You can go on Companies House Beta. So if you put Companies House Beta into Google, you can search people on there who own companies, and it will tell you lots of interesting things about them, such as their accounts, how much money they made last year, whether they did their accounts late or not, how many companies they've had and shut down. And if somebody's just started a company to do your project, that's a danger sign. If you search their name and they've had 20 companies shut down in the last 10 years, that's obviously a danger sign. If the company is in a different person's name, and it's like you're talking to this guy called Dave, and the name of the person who owns that company is called Michael, that's going to look dodgy as well. So you can look at all those things, and they're just obvious things. There's other ways as well, such as if you did a quantity surveyor's report of the project, that is where a quantity surveyor, they normally cost about £500 to £1,000. They'll come along and they'll work out all the materials and labour costs for that project. And to do that, they would need a floor plan of the proposed project that you're going to do and a specification list of everything: skirting, wall colours, everything, tiles. And off that, they would work out an approximate cost for labour and the materials for the project, right? So if you took all of the costings off and just gave a builder all of the materials that are required and the jobs that are required, they should be able to work out a quote for you from there. So if you gave a spec sheet, a floor plan, and a QS report, a good builder would love you. A bad builder would hate you because it looks like you're too professional and you know what you're doing, and they run a mile. So there's some little things, and some of the most obvious stuff is like check out work that they've previously done, not stuff they're currently doing, but stuff that they've completed and finished, and like a year ago, say. And you say, can I speak to a client that you did a project for 12 months ago? You speak to them and they say, yeah, you know, there was a few problems, bit of shrinking, bit of cracking in the past, so they came back straight away and fixed it. That's all the stuff you want to hear, right? They're obvious things. And the amount of people I spoke to who have had bad times with builders, they haven't checked them out at all. They've just gone on face value, or my mate recommended them, which is the worst one, because your mate might not know anything about building or even use them themselves. They've just met them down the pub, you know. Oh, I know someone who's a builder. Oh, do you? Yeah, they've met them down the pub once, you know. And that's stupidity at maximum, because the amount of time we put into carrying out due diligence on tenants, and then we don't even bother with a builder who we're going to spend like 50 grand with. You know, come on.
I love that, because some of those things, you know, seem common sense to you, but I really like that. Ask for an old client who's done that, they completed the job for about a year ago. Really like that one. The QS report I really like. Yeah, so I think fantastic. Let's talk a little bit more, Nick, about how you have come up with this system that allows you to do sort of 10 refurbs or more at the same time. How many have you got going on right now?
8.
8, right? Okay. So talk to us about that. How are you doing it?
It's really not that hard. It's basically you need a good builder, and we've been working with this current builder for 2 years now, so we understand each other. But basically, you know, I will go and I get a deal, right? So it starts off at the very beginning. I get a deal from wherever, agent, direct defender, they've called us or whatever, off our marketing materials. I stack the deal on my computer. I think, yeah, this is good. I'll go and view it in person. When I've viewed it in person, I'll basically take pictures, strike the deal, get any information that I need, measurements, things like that. I'll go away, I'll knock up a nice floor plan of what it looks like right now on floorplanner.com. That's what I use. I make some really nice floor plans on there. And then I'll have a cup of tea and I'll chill out and I'll just think about where I'm going to put my ensuites, where I'm going to move walls around, you know, what I'm going to do basically. And I'll do all of that. So I make a proposed floor plan. I'll do a specification sheet, either with the client that I'm going to source this to or do one myself. and I give that to the builder, and he will either get a quantity surveyor in to do a report, or we might use an old one because we've done so many projects now. A lot of them are kind of similar, and we're basically work out an in-depth quote. Once that's been done, I will package that and send that out to my database to sell to a client, or I do it myself. So once it's been purchased and the builder's lined it up in his pipeline, we've got a Dropbox folder, and in the Dropbox folder is all the project management folders. So there'd be things like quotes and invoices as a folder, progress reports as another folder, schedules of works, planning stuff, building control, miscellaneous folder, all that stuff's in there, right? And basically we just populate all the folders with all the information that's required. The builder comes in and he does his thing. He's the contractor, so he runs that site. I don't get involved in running the site, running the trades, ordering materials in. The contractor does that all for me. Okay, my job is ensuring that he's conducting, basically doing everything on budget. He's doing everything to the schedule that we've worked out, doing a good job. If the clients have questions, they come through me. And every week I go around and inspect all my projects, take photos, I upload them to Dropbox and put them on Facebook and things like that. Handle any issues, any emergencies. And that's how I've been able to scale up. I basically leveraged other people and put all these processes and systems in place, check off lists, things like that. Left anything out, hopefully. Every now and then we get caught out with something, but that's part of property, really.
Yeah, and then you add it onto the list. Anything,
Exactly.
yeah. So that is brilliant information. Thank you. Now we've got 15 minutes left, so we're only going to be able to tackle one of the two other things, which is we've got investment and we've got building a team. And I think we get the most questions really about getting finance. So we're going to go on the investment side. If you've got a specific question, you can ask it below, even if you're watching on the replay, because I know most people didn't know we were coming on. Well, we didn't know we were coming on today at midday. So until this morning. So let's start there. And I know that you've got you've got a philosophy about working with investors, haven't you? And tell us about how it started and how it changed and what you're doing now.
Okay, so when I was in the Navy, I built up my portfolio or whatever. And when I met John Colclough, he also had a portfolio. So when we kind of came together, we said, let's start Pegasus from scratch with no seed capital. We won't put any money into it, other than the really obvious things like registering the limited company and all that kind of stuff, getting the logo made. But yeah, we didn't sort of like start the company and chuck 100 grand in each or anything like that. So we sat down and said, how can we make money from nothing, from thin air? And I said, well, it's simple, isn't it? It's services. We've got to offer services to people. They're going to exchange our knowledge and time for money. So that was things like sourcing deals, project managing renovations for people, doing property lettings and sales. So in order to build up that client base, I started doing videos. That's about 3 years ago now. So I started a YouTube channel. I started doing videos of me walking around talking about property deals that we were doing. And I got quite a lot of interest from that. And people said, can I come for a coffee? And I was like, yeah, sure. So people were coming for coffees. I was taking them around all the properties that we were renovating. And it got so out of control that me and John were doing like 2 tours a day each. So we were getting 4 people round. And that was every day, even Saturdays and Sundays. And what was good about it was it allowed us to get our lingo going, like the saying certain things and little things that then stuck with you. Oh, that sounded good. Things like, oh, we've got accountability because we do the sourcing and the renovation and the lettings. We're not like another sourcing agency where there's no accountability after you've bought the deal. And we would say things like that, and that would stick, and you go, oh, that was a good little line, And so that allowed us to improve our sales patter, I suppose. And then what was happening was obviously we were getting busier and busier, and therefore time was becoming more valuable for us. And then it was unfair because we were managing projects for clients, but we were pissing around all day doing tours for people and having coffees, right? So I said, right, we need to wind this back. So we started doing it on Saturdays only, and then we started charging money for charity. I think we raised about 3K for Douglas Macmillan Hospice charity. That was really cool, yeah. And then we started charging more because when we charged for charity, we couldn't afford to get anything like a bus to drive everyone around or anything like that. So we ended up getting like 20 people to drive around Stoke-on-Trent to go and view all these houses. There's nowhere to park. It was a bloody nightmare. So we put the price up and we started using the money to get a minibus. getting lunch, all that stuff. And then, yeah, so that now is developed into our developers workshop, which we run every couple of months. So the next one's 15th of December. So that's on our website. And then that developed into, obviously, people that are willing to pay money to come on your workshops tend to be a bit more forthcoming when it comes to wanting to invest in property. So that's how we built our client base. Essentially, was just putting the work in. We put a lot of work in to build that client base, hours and hours and hours. And then we did it through social media as well, of course, like list building, giving away free PDF pamphlets in exchange for email addresses. And then that would convert into sending them bills that they would then buy. And that's it, really. That's it, really. Just the credibility, doing a good job, not screwing any projects up. If we did screw a project up, we'd be really fair about it and compensate financially or whatever. You know, that's what you got to do in business. If you just say screw you, that's not a good. That's not got longevity to it, right? So.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Yeah, and you're going to give me the links, aren't you, for this open days that people can join you on in December?
Well, basically everything's on the website, pegasuspg.com. So it's Pegasus Property Group, pegasuspg.com. There's everything's on there, all the stuff that I sell, workshops, deal analyzers, books, whatever. It's all on there if you want to have a look.
Fantastic. Well, you know where to go, guys, if you want a little bit more of Nick. So that's the investment side, and you've got another way where you can work with sourcers who are just starting out and maybe have not got the list or have not built up that credibility yet and can't sell their deals.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, this isn't like a marketing thing or me trying to sell stuff, but I'll be honest with you, building up that list has taken me years and years, and it's all about credibility. Because I've been around for a couple of years now doing this, so I've got that credibility. And that means when I source a deal, I can charge a bit more money, because other people's deals where they haven't got credibility, people are more fearful that the deal is going to be crap or something. So I've got lots of people who do sourcing, and basically they're trying to get £2,000 for their deal, but I can sell it for a lot more than that through my database. So I say to sourcers, give it to me, I'll sell it for you, and we'll split it 50-50, and you still get more money than you would have got anyway, and you don't need to try and build up your own list. So that's kind of what I advise people to do, to be honest with you, is team up with other people. But if you want to keep it all to yourself, then, you know, you're probably only going to get your 2K until you built up that credibility. Then you can probably start charging more. If you want to stay on your own and not work with other people, basically you need to go networking, do lots of posts on Facebook, and I would offer free downloadable content to people in exchange for their contact details, things like that.
Great, that's great tips for people who want to get started on the marketing side of things. So Nick, we're just in our final minutes. So is there anything else that you want to share that I've not actually asked you about?
Not that I can think of. I'd probably just say, you know, if you're looking at HMOs and you're looking at doing things like all en suites, etc., like HMOs, you know, I conduct a lot of surveys with my tenants. And over the past 3 years, you know, we've had quite a few hundred tenants. So I've got a good database of HMO people, basically, HMO tenants. And I do SurveyMonkey style surveys, and I'll ask them questions like, you know, if you've got to rank these 5 things, like rank 1 to rank 5 in importance, how would you rank them? And the questions would be things like good internet, value for money, i.e. rent, good management and repairs, location, all these kind of things, you know, or having an ensuite. And Wi-Fi was always number 1. Okay, that's the most important thing to tenants is Wi-Fi. You know, then it was like management, and then it was like value for money, then it was location, then it was ensuite was last, ironically. But that's maybe skewed information because we've got a lot of ensuites anyway in our properties. But the point is to take away from that is that Wi-Fi is extremely important to tenants. Location and value for money. Do you know what your tenants want? You're creating a product. Do you actually know what they want? Do you know where they want to live? These are things that you need to consider. You know, you're creating a product, okay? A product, and you've got to be competitive. So you really got to think about that stuff. How you're going to market it, who your target market is, and just really location is very, very important, okay? And quality is very, very important if you want to remain competitive. So that's the advice I'd give. And just another quick one. Not all properties are suitable to have all en suites because of things like drainage. Sometimes the drainage means that you can't put all en suites in. So without getting really boring and technical, try and explain it. But basically, you've got the drains at the back of the house, and your soil stack's normally at the back as well. Okay, and this is like old Victorian properties. And if you're trying to run en suites from the front of the house to the back of the house, there's got to be a fall somewhere. There's got to be a natural gravity fall for the waste to get out. So if you're trying to go from the front of a building to the back of a building, obviously that fall's going to get greater and greater and greater the longer it goes. So the only way you can do it really is by either dropping your ceilings or going under the ground. Okay, so there are things you need to look at. Can the ceilings be dropped? Are they high enough to be dropped? You know, and if you can't drop them, can you go under the floor? Does that mean you've got to dig all the floor out? You know, these are things you need to think about. And I would conduct a drain survey on a property before you buy it. If you're going to do one en suites, just to check that you can put all those bathrooms in and that it can handle that waste. It's really important, really, really important.
So the offers are not so quick on those ones.
Well, I've seen people buy them, do all the en suites and put the drainage in, and then the waste won't go down because there's not enough fall on the, do you know what I mean? And yeah, it's an absolute nightmare. So it's a really important thing to take away. Look at the drainage.
Okay, look at the drainage. So the one with the right location, and the two was if you go all en suites, look at the drainage, like that. And on location, I know you've got very specific rules as well that you go by. Because now that it's so highly competitive and people are talking about that it is a saturated marketplace, that these things become even more important. So tell us your rules about location.
Okay, so if you walk and measure the distance, you'll probably walk about 0.75 miles in 15 minutes. And most tenants, through surveys that I've conducted, are happy to walk 10 to 15 minutes to get to work or university or whatever. Okay, so if you were to draw a 0.75 mile radius around somewhere like a hospital or a retail centre or wherever a lot of tenants work, you know, that's going to give you a pretty good indication of how far a lot of tenants are willing to travel. And if you did that and you know where all the HMOs are in your area, you could actually get a map and draw where all the HMOs are, draw the 0.75 mile circle, and you might see other areas where nobody's doing HMOs. And there might be a reason for that you need to look into. But we identified a new area in Stoke about a year ago by doing that, and we smashed that area. So, you know, basically nobody else is there because we just got in there and did it, and all the rooms are full, and it's a popular area for tenants now, just because we did that little, you know, circle basically on a map.
Yeah, fantastic advice, and that's a great tip to sort of roll into the end on. Thank you so much for coming in. I think I put a notice up to say that you're coming on, and I said I've got a mystery guest coming on. He's done 50 plus developments in 2 years, and the first person to guess answered it, because who else is doing that? Who else? What other small companies have the ability to be able to manage over 10 refurbs at any one time? I think it's really credit to yourself, and I know that a lot of the people on would be interested in all those systems that you talked about. Now, we haven't been able to go very deep in this one because of time, but I think if people are interested, and if you're watching this thinking you would be interested in more deep dives with Nick, and there are specific areas that you want to look into, put them in the comments. Let me know what sort of things that you want to talk about, and if you would welcome Nick coming back to talk on specific topics where you've got questions about your own developments or about things that you're doing in the future. So let me know if you want to see more of Nick on this show. And thank you for coming in, Nick.
Thank you, Bethany.
Yeah, great to have you on. And let's just say thanks to everyone for watching. We'll be back next week. Bye for now.
Bye.